forehead.
Thank you. This meeting will come to order. Please take the roll.
Representative Pendergraft. Representative Pendergraft.
Here.
Representative Haroldson.
Here.
Representative Lean.
Here.
Senator Driscoll.
Here.
Senator Guru.
Here.
Senator Salazar.
Accused.
We have a quorum.
Excused. We are here to look at amendments to House Bill 111. We have 4 amendments to look at, and at this time, the chair would entertain a motion on amendment number 1.
I would move that we keep amendment number 1,
Adopt.
adopt amendment number 1.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I think a motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Representative Haroldson's motion to adopt Amendment 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Amendment has passed. Chair would entertain a motion regarding amendment number 3.
We went from 1 to 3, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry,
To 750,000.
that would be Senate Committee of Whole Amendment number 3 to House Bill 11.
There's 1, there's 3, there's.
Oh.
2.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Drew.
thank you. Before we make any amendments, any further amendments, I'd just like to talk about this a little bit. These were amendments that this amendment is my amendment actually from the Senate side. And so, just wanted to talk a little bit about it, and answer any questions that you have before we started making motions and stuff. The CWC Jackson project started for me in 2018. Started with an amendment in the construction bill to put in $500,000 on a 1-to-1 match to start the project. It was passed, community raised $500,000. Then it passed 2 spec ballots for another $24 million, an appropriation from the general fund of this body to also help. And now the building's being built. On September 24th of this year, we'll cut the ribbon on the building. Been around long enough, you start to kind of get the ebb and flow of these projects. And what usually happens when you get to the end of a project, the state construction department will come and say, boy, we've heard from folks at CWC Jackson say they didn't quite have enough money to finish the landscaping, or they put in all the bookshelves but didn't have enough money for any books, or this, that, or the other thing, and they need another $1.5 million. What this amendment contemplates is that very thing. And to say, just as it said when we started, to ask the community to pitch in $750,000 on a 1-to-1 match for $1.5 million to finish the project. Where did the number come from? My head, in discussions with the folks that are working on the project, just kind of a guess, but I think an educated one. And once again, with an attempt then in September to start a fundraising project instead of waiting until next year and ask for a handout. As the folks in my community have done time and time and time again, we never come here and ask for the first dollar in, nor do we ask for the last. We're always willing to put up. We're always willing to figure out a way to try to partner with our friends at Central Wyoming College who've had a presence in Jackson for over 40 years, but have never had a home. Now they're going to have one come September. And that's what this motion and this amendment contemplates. So I'd be happy to stand for any questions or any thoughts that you have on the matter before we start entertaining motions.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Guru, for the background. My only question is, did this funding go through the process that the other projects have already gone through for approval?
No. But once again, as I say, that is not an altogether uncommon occurrence. As a matter of fact, I can think of the last one I can think of that would fall into the same category, happened in appropriations just barely a month ago. And the chairman was there when one of the members of the committee said, gosh, I had a call from my school district and there's a $7 million increase for the price of the bus barn at a high school in a county in the northeast part of the state. We passed it at that moment. As a matter of fact, we passed it with no information at all. None, zero. As a matter of fact, then a month later, found out that the $7 million figure was wrong and it was actually $2 million and we changed it. But at the time, it was important to get it in the bill to make sure that we got it out front and we were transparent about trying with the best information we had at that moment to pass it. And we did. So that was the last instance of that I can remember that occurred within the last month of this building. So just to kind of give it context. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senator. So you were saying basically there's been 2 installments of money starting in 2018 roughly to basically do an extension of Central Wyoming Community College up into the Teton Basin country. And September, you said this is coming to a close. And that ribbon cuttings at that point where you're sitting there saying, hey, you're wanting $750,000 to sit there and basically have that opportunity for a little skin in the game for the local community to be a part of it. Am I hearing you correct on that?
Yes, as a matter, yeah, Mr. Chairman. Sorry. Yes, through you. That is correct. And like I say, through these projects, I've been watching, I get a report every week on how this construction is going, how the monetary draws are going, how the project is progressing and where they're ending up. I've talked to the contractors, talked to the folks at CWC and say, hey, how we coming? How are we going to finish this up? And they say, well, it's starting to get a little tight, just like it does at the end of a project. So that's where, like I say, once again, if we wait until next year and it's an ask, then it's an ask. If we wait until another year goes by, we're going to miss a heck of a fundraising opportunity. In Jackson, we're blessed, truly blessed with a great philanthropic community. And I would hate to deny them the opportunity to give and give generously once again, as this community, has stood for 2 SPET elections and numerous fundraising campaigns to get this project done.
Follow up?
Yeah, thank you very much. And so the 1.5 is that, do we have an idea of that's the window we need to be in, or is that just kind of from experience what you think is going to be needed, or do we have kind of a bit of a fiscal profile on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No more so than when I told them that I was going to put in for 750,000 so they could raise 750,000 and don't dare come down here and ask for another penny. No, it was kind of a self-imposed limit.
Further question? Yeah, I have a couple myself. When did you become aware that they were going to be wanting another 1.5 million? Now, you said you pulled that number up, but how long have you known that was going to be required or requested?
Well, let's see. I started my first building project in 1987. And through the years of going through these projects, I've known each one of them come to the end and usually need something. And so it was just down that continuum that I've traveled. And so, like I say, as a matter of fact, when it first hit me was when that came up about that school in Northeast Wyoming a month ago, when a member of the Appropriations Committee asked for $7 million just out of thin air.
Thank you, Senator. So why not ask then, when that particular chairman appeared to be in a mood to move this direction?
As a matter of fact, I did. I got told to bring it up later. But thank you for the question. Came from the chairman of appropriations.
Okay, this is, I appreciate that. This is a different chairman.
Imagine
And
that.
I'm looking back.
Hmm.
You know, I'm new to this. You guys probably forgot more about this process than hopefully I'll ever have to learn. But I do understand that going back, you said this process started about 2018, and it was kind of a rough and tumble system in those days where a little bit cowboys shoot 'em up, see who's got the most willpower, and we'll get our projects in. And over the years, what I have seen is the building department come together and begin to do things according to process and to follow a process. And so that we don't have one project coming and jumping into here at the last minute or a change, that things do go through the process. Things are well vetted and things are taken in turn so that nobody gets left behind. And I can think of a couple of other projects that we've had frustration with for many years. I might mention the Soldiers and Sailors Home. I might mention the prison. And I like the trend of the way things have been going, where we begin to follow a process. We go through the steps in a proper order. I think there are like 13 steps that this goes through. And we move through there rather than a haphazard or whoever has the greatest influence has an opportunity to stick something in. Just my opinion, and I'm only one person.
Mr. Chairman, if
Go ahead,
I
sir.
thank you so much, and I appreciate and understand your opinion. And like I say, as I was trying to do was take advantage of the philanthropic nature of the folks in my county. Like I say, I sit through many of these meetings and many of these requests, and like I say, we've always tried to do it a certain way, take advantage of what we can in Teton County, and that's our public, to try to help fund these projects. And so I don't look back on any ones that don't, but you know, as far as it goes, yes, we do go through a process. We have a process, and it's a rigorous one, and we follow it until we don't. We have a lot of guideposts and things to work on that we need to stay in between until we don't. And like I say, in this particular case, I was just trying to take advantage of the fact that I could raise $750,000 out of 1.5 million, save the state $750,000, get a job done, and make a win-win situation for the people in my county and for the Central Wyoming College and the state of Wyoming. So I guess it would be a win-win-win.
Well, thank you, Senator. I can certainly understand that, and I appreciate that. You mentioned a couple of times that you have a very giving community. Happens to be in the richest county probably in the world. If they can raise 750, do you think maybe they could come up with another? And I realize that the answer to that is we want the state to show that they have skin in the game. And I think the fact that the state has been involved with this since 2018 would pretty well demonstrate that we have done our part. And with that, I believe that I've made my statement, but if anybody else would like to weigh in, please.
Mr. Chairman, tiny follow-up on it, and I don't have a real dog in the fight other than this. I'm looking out at Campbell County folks, and I started representing them midway through my term. And at that point in time, Campbell County was supplying roughly half the revenue to the entire state. And every time they'd come for money, they had to beg for it, even though the money originated in their county. We made them come beg for it, and they fought unbelievably, and they paid for a lot, exactly like you're talking about. And over that ensuing time, I've watched Sublette County enter into that, and just recently Teton County. And we all like to hate Teton County, but tourism's our #2 industry, and they're actually our newest coal mines and oil wells. And I see a similar pattern going on as, well, you're rich, you have a lot of money, you ought to build it with your own money while we take your money. And I think that's kind of frightening. It's rob the rich, and, you guys support the entire state, but when it comes time for you to ask for anything at all that's extra, you say, no, you really ought to pay for it yourself because you're wealthy. And I think that's really concerning. You're going to hear it on the projects coming up as well. It's really hard is they give so much to us and they come and they don't ask for wild. And we say, no, you've got money. Why don't you pay for it yourself? That's really not how good communities work. And I think it's hard to look at that, or it's hard for me to look at it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one thought that I had while I was listening to this is that the way I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this money flows through Fremont County and into Teton County. So the mill levies that are assessed in Fremont County are not being collected in Teton County. Is there an opportunity for Teton County to be able to collect that mill levy to be able to finish off this project?
Senator?
Mr. Chairman, through you to Representative Lean. We are working on that. As a matter of fact, it's going to be the subject of an interim topic that we'll be discussing about finally making that move over. But it's interesting that you asked that, and I'm really glad that you did, because while we're not raising mill levies, the town of Jackson and Teton County have been putting in an amount of money each year into Central Wyoming College that would equal a mill levy. They've been appropriating out of their general fund to do it in anticipation of being able to work out a switch as you move those mill levies, and Teton County is ready, willing, and able to do it. But what also that does is that changes the number of board seats and representation, which has been a subject of quite a few questions, and especially in Fremont County, because they'll lose a few seats. And so we're trying to give them time to work it out. But all the while, our town and our county have been putting in money to equal the mill levies that have not been collected. So in essence, they have. And so they've been paying, along with two spent ballot proposals that the county voted to help pay for this project, and numerous fundraising that this would be a part of as well. So it's been a project that we've worked on now. And we feel that, like I say, we've never come down and asked for the first money, never come down and asked for the last. We're always trying to work with construction department and all entities to try to bring this through. And so that's why. And that's the answer to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. A follow-up?
Mr. Chairman.
Did you have a follow-up? Yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, an idea I have is, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea, because obviously we are talking about another two conversations after this. So I think we've thoroughly gotten a picture of what's going on here. Let's, if you don't mind, can we go on to the next conversation? And let me ask this question. What's the process of public comment on this stuff?
Chair has the discretion, and I have currently opted out of public comment.
Okay, so moving on to the next conversation, which would be,
May I interrupt? I'm
Certainly.
co-chair, and I would
Certainly,
like,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to have some help on when Gillette College comes from people that actually know. If
I
you
would certainly grant that. So.
Very good, thank you. And I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would just ask that we go on and talk about that section 6, section 3 with the change to the University of Wyoming conversation,
Chair is amenable to that.
and kind of talk about what that looks like.
Go ahead and begin if you'd like.
Okay. So just looking at this, obviously we do have two new beautiful dormitories over at the University of Wyoming, and there's a conversation with creating green space or creating parking space. And with that, I think that seeing the enacting date of this bill being July 1st, I think we would be at that point putting a cart ahead of a horse, or a horse ahead of a, well, I mean, I think we put the cart ahead of a horse if we're not careful on that one. So I think at this time I would make a motion to reinsert the stricken language and to not accept this Senate amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to delete Senate second reading amendment number 1.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, sir.
almost no comment other than to say, if it stays or it goes, if it stays, it's a shall that it has to be an open space. It leaves it on the trustees the other way. Senator Rothfuss isn't here who actually brought that, but I think it still leaves trustees either way you do it, leaves them with the ability, it's a shall the other way. And I will defer a little bit to
Yeah.
Senator Grew. I tend to trust people like trustees. Maybe not all do, but I do.
Thank you, Senator. I did have discussions with the university, and what I learned is that this had been a plan for some time. All the details of what went into that plan as far as how much public input or student input or whatever, I couldn't precisely cite. And I don't think it does anything to put this language back in there, except perhaps protect the university itself. So there. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, that's enlightening, and I appreciate the
Thank you.
update because we didn't hear that on the floor
Yeah.
exactly.
All right. We seem to have set a trend, so let's move on to the fun one.
Okay,
Senator Driscoll.
I did move.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
So
Okay.
that one probably has to be disclosed.
Yes, having been moved and seconded, all in favor of Senator Harold.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
would it be okay? I'd ask you to withdraw that motion. Let's talk about all these and then
Yeah.
let's try to figure it out. Because I would say, we kind of lock ourselves in and then we move through these motions. And it's
I-
not usually what we do in these things. Sometimes we discuss and we maybe make a
it's a little
Yeah.
horse trade.
little horse trade or a little talk about what are our most important and what are lesser important, what can we pass on our floors and whatever. So I'd just like to have that discussion. a little
Mr.
bit.
Chairman, I'll withdraw that amendment or that motion at this moment, and we can reconvene and have a conversation on it at the end.
Second is amenable.
okay. Amenable, thank you for the suggestion. As I see it, we could have gone one of two ways and we kind of found ourselves midstream, so fair enough.
Now moving on.
Senate second reading amendment number 2, which begins at the bottom of page 2 on this report, is basically for, well, Senator Driscoll, why don't you lay out what we're talking about?
Mr. Chairman, I will, and I'll be a little wandering. I'll bring some help in. There's a lot of history here that goes with it, and some of it that I'm not totally privy to. And if I make misstatements, I'm going to ask who follows me to come correct them, because I have no intent to mislead you or lie to you, but I'm probably not 100% up. Number one, this wasn't brought by the college. This was brought by me. This is, let's be really upfront. They didn't come and ask me to do it. I've been a part of the Enzi building since the day it was conceived, basically. Sitting out in the audience is Diane Enzi, and Senator Enzi and her were great friends of mine. And when they had the potential of a new building, I've been a part of helping since very early on. Basically, when Gillette College is in the process splitting from Sheridan College, they have not got their accreditation yet. And I believe their intent was to wait until after accreditation to do this building. And what I saw was an opportunity.
If I may,
Yes.
what kind of timeline is that? When do they anticipate being accredited?
I think they'll talk to you, but I think they're shovel ready right now. If you'd like, you can come up if you want to do this as kind of a round robin. I'm happy.
yeah,
Or
please.
she can tail me up.
Please do that. Thank you.
Uh,
By the way, I would like to acknowledge that Mrs. Enzi is here with us. Glad to have you here. Thank you. My shoes have worn out, though. Thank you.
So I believe they're basically shovel ready. We'll get a little bit of testing.
Please have a seat, introduce yourself to the committee and to whoever might be online.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, or good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I'm Janelle Oberlander. I'm the founding president of Gillette Community College District. It's my honor to serve my community. I am a Gillette. I was born in Lovell, but I was raised in Gillette. My family moved there in 1972. I am well aware of the growth we've had in Gillette. In fact, I also bought shoes. Well, my parents bought me shoes at the Enzy bookstore, or at the Enzy shoe store. So I have fond memories of that building downtown. So Gillette College began the process of separating from the Northern Wyoming Community College District in August of 2021, when the voters voted by 70% to make that separation happen and to choose to assess up to 4 mills with the optional 5th. That process has been ongoing. It is a significant lift. It is a heavy lift. And we have not only created a college, but we're creating an organization and a business. So when that separation happened, 7 trustees were elected. There were no employees. I was the first employee at the college and have created a pretty outstanding executive team, and we have hired the full college. The college employees and all of the operational expenses are on the burden of the Campbell County taxpayers now. We support the college wholly. In 2017, there was a building concept designed. It was called the STEM building. So that's when the very first conversation started happening about a new academic building at Gillette College. Of course, at that time, we were still under Sheridan. If you've been to Gillette and you have been to Area 59, that was what came as a conceptual design instead of building the full STEM building. As you may recall, Paul Young, who was the president of the Northern Wyoming Community College District, was very adamant about Sheridan getting a build and then Gillette College getting a build. And so in 2019, he came to me and he said, it's time for Gillette to design a building, go forth and design. So we created the new academic building. It was a 3-story academic building that would have sat to the east of the main building. Then COVID happened, and then the separation happened. Once that separation happened, Walt Schreible, who is now the current president of Sheridan College, and I had a conversation. Do we leave that building in as a project under the Northern Wyoming Community College District on the Gillette campus, or do we pull it out because now we have a separate district? We made that decision together to pull that building out of the capital construction. It was funded we were getting ready to enter into phase 2. So fast forward a couple years, and Senator Driscoll, who was then president of the Senate, came and said, can you bring forward an academic building in honor of Senator Enzy? And as you may know, or may not know, back in 1969, then Mayor Mike Enzy had a vision to build a sustainable community. And one of the pieces he believed was important was a college to sustain this community. So 50 some years later, that dream became a reality. And so in order to honor him, Senator Driscoll, then president of the Senate, asked if we could build a building in his honor. And I said, we happen to have one that's designed at level 2. So we went back and did the feasibility study. There's been 2 feasibility studies done on this building. And both have shown a deficit in space. Our primary focus for this building is lab space. It is to build labs so we can serve our industry partners. As you may know, we have new partners looking to come to Gillette. BWXT and one other company are doing site selection. They're in the site selection process now. Those 2 companies alone will bring over 400 jobs to Campbell County once they're in production. Construction, they'll bring more to Campbell County. The benefit to the state when those 2 companies are in production will be tremendous. Senator Driscoll estimates $1 billion back to the county or to the state. So the Enzy building is about serving our industry partners. It's about serving our community, and it's about serving the state. Campbell County has supported Gillette College throughout the years. While we may not have been assessing a mill during the time we were with the Northern Wyoming Community College District, both the county and the city assessed a 1%. And we received funds from that. The funds we received from the city and the county nearly equaled the 5 mills that Sheridan was assessing. Of course, we did not receive mill funding from Sheridan. That money has to stay in Campbell County. And of course, we're fortunate we have BOCES as well that funds current technical education. So the citizens of Campbell County have funded their college. They continue to fund their college, and they continue to support Gillette College. So we can continue to have a sustainable community through the ups and downs of an energy boom and bust. I know what that cycle's like. I grew up in it. So if we can make a sustainable community even more sustainable, the whole entire state benefits. And with that, I'm happy to answer additional questions or.
Mr. Chair,
provide clarification.
But virtually all the buildings, other than a couple later ones, were all built at their entire cost. No money out of the community college. They built it with their own money. They maintained it with their own. They heated and cooled it with their own money. And I hope I'm not wrong on that. Gillette really put their shoulder into it. And it's part of why I've been such a big cheerleader is, up to COVID, and I don't know past COVID, up to COVID, 100% of their graduates had job offers. And that's virtually the entire workforce in our area comes out of Gillette College. It doesn't matter if they're welders, truck drivers, mine people. It is, and I've been an unbelievable cheerleader, and she's absolutely correct. I've pushed it from the start. We had this building was on the list, folks. It got removed when they split the colleges apart. So it did go through the process. It was on the list. Now I'm going to tell you the other part I see, and I laid a paper out in front of you. Part of the requirements of this, and it's a little different than the amendment that came in the House. So the amendment in the House just kind of funded that semi-matched mine, but it didn't match. Mine does dollar for dollar match with non-state money. But it does one other thing. It requires them to move to 4 mills. And when Gillette College moves to 4 mills, something changes in the fact that as they grow, and that goes back to what I was talking about the job share, this college actually becomes a net contributor to the system, not a net taker. And virtually all our community college system are takers. And once again, it's a little like the example I used earlier is Campbell County is going to be out there paying more than they take to help the other colleges in the system. And that's why I say this is a net gain for us, is that should they choose to take this path, yes, they're moving in a little quicker, but in a not very long time frame window, their overflow is going to go back into the other colleges. And it really, if you look through this list, it really does help the entire system long-term. And that's really what I'm looking at is this jump starts them into the new system. It gives them a little bit of fairness back into it because they really have gone over and beyond. And mine is to think about it, and it goes back to some other things we've done is if it didn't give anything back, I'd probably have a different outcome on it. But this thing over time pays for itself. And why would we turn down and have them fund it themselves to the detriment of the rest of the system potentially? Mine is let's welcome them in. Let's let their own money pay for it because it will. And let's take the overflow to help our other colleges, which is in all of our districts. I'll go a step further long term is the mill levy needs to go statewide. It goes back to where you were at. I live in Kirk County, and I think it's one of the wildest things I see is my kids can go to school at any community college with no mill levy where I live. I think it's insane, but this building is such a cornerstone, and I'm going to tell you, it will drive change in Campbell County as these companies come in. They aren't the argument we're having about different schools. This is locally based, and it puts people right back. I'm telling you, in my community, we see Gillette College graduates every day. I want more of them, and I want them to go to that next level because this takes them above welders and electricians. It takes them into that next level. So I'll stand, and if I've lied, correct me once again. I don't know all the facts. Really interesting. They imported me halfway into my term into Campbell County, and I've been a pretty shoulder on against them on different things. Campbell County had money, and Crook County and Weston County were poor, and Niobrara County. And then I found out how they did business, and I'm kind of a cheerleader at this point. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Questions from the committee? Anybody? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senator. So looking at obviously 21-18-205, until they assess 4, this money sits.
Can't get it.
So when they assess the 4th, I think one struggle that I do have is we had community colleges that are in that 4th assessed mill that are currently established, that put in requests for funding that didn't get funded this year. And I struggle with, my concern is we have a mechanism in play if they were to assess their fourth mill for funding to come. They haven't done so, which that's a whole nother conversation, probably a different sidebar conversation. But the struggle that I have is we've got other community colleges that, I mean, I think we could say probably about all the community colleges that they're all struggling a little bit for cash. And so we turn around and we lock up 16 million waiting for that fourth mill assessment. Is that coming? Do we know that's coming? Or do you feel like putting 16 million on the scale is enough to dump that type of deal? I'm just trying to figure out. I guess I'm struggling that we do have a process to make this reality, and it seems like this is circumnavigating the process.
Chairman Pendergraft, Representative. Yeah, I think one, it's an incentive to them. Second, it's not stealing money out of the existing projects. This is adding money. This is actually, I went in and I didn't take it out of their funding. I took it out of general fund. So what we've actually done is taken a project that's probably going to show up high on the priority list very soon that takes money right out of their pot. Now we're taking general fund. So what we've actually done is jump-started the system a little bit. We've actually put more money in the system, not taking it away from them. Second, should they choose to take the 4 mills, they're going to pour more money into that very system rather than take away from it when they come. And this will be a big project. Like I said, it was on the list already. So my guess is when they come back in, they're going to come up pretty fast up on the list, and that may cause some heartburn for other schools because they have a reason to be there. You know, when you really look at what's happening in Campbell County, it's a happening place right now, and they need facilities. They're short of space. They're new coming into it, and it does something else, and I'll be unabashed about it. I hope I don't cry on it, is Enzi's played a huge part of Gillette being what it is. And for me, it's what she said is, my gosh, they've earned it. It's something that, you know, maybe once in a lifetime, somebody ought to get a little higher up on the list because of what they did for the state. And that's part of it with me.
Follow up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't disagree at all with that sentiment and the fact of honoring an amazing man that did a lot for the state. I will say this, though. What about the fourth mill? Because really, I mean, the fourth mill needs to be assessed. And I think that for me is the real sticking point is we haven't assessed a fourth mill. And because we haven't assessed the fourth mill, there's a separation from that funding naturally. So they kind of are an island, and not kind of, they are an island. The fourth mill is the mechanism to get them in with the rest of the pool, so to speak. And they haven't taken that move to get that fourth mill assessed. And so I think that really, I mean, if we're looking at the optic, we've got 9. How many community colleges? 8. This would be
8
the
coming.
Yep.
7 with the 8.
7. This will be the 8th. We have 7 other community colleges that are qualifiable for money. Going, why are you giving money to the one that isn't qualified? And I think that's the optic that I am concerned about. And so can we talk a little bit about that fourth mill, please?
Chairman Pendergraft, Representative Harrelson, absolutely is so that they'll be one of the fourth mill ones if we accept to let them do this. The only way they can access the money is fourth mill. They cannot cash that check until they've gone to the fourth mill. And by the way, it's not a retractable mill. The fourth mill is going to be there. So they're going to be a part of the big boys club, and there's no way to force them into it right now. And this doesn't force them into it. It just says, here's the incentive. We'll help you get here. You pass the fourth mill, and in time, the fourth mill is actually going to repay the general fund or pay the college fund back because it's going to do it. It actually relieves, if you look at the sheet, it's actually over time. It helps every community college in the state. It doesn't just help them, it helps them all. Cause you know, we're all familiar with recapture in K-12. They're going to be a recapture. It's going to go to other schools, not just to them. And that's part of what I'm doing is trying to make it where they're exactly on the same thing. It's going to make it much easier for them and us going forward to not have one that's not under the system. And, you know, the counties that got money got different ways to do things. And this is an encouragement to make it where it says that. If you look at the sheet, it really stabilizes it. So we're not putting one college against another. They're all apples to apples. They're doing their. Did we give them a cherry to start with? Probably. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm here, guys. I ran the amendment. They didn't ask for it. I brought it. It's like we were talking about when we started. It was, I actually texted Janelle and said, or Ms. Chairman, President Overland, and said, is it okay if I do this? Because I wasn't sure it was. And, you know, I think it's very healthy for everybody if this goes through. It really makes it where now you have a clean slate and you also have $16 million plus that's out there that's available to other schools because they're not going to be coming in the middle of it. And that's, tell you, these big projects, and we all know it, they're hard to get up the list. It's a lot easier to pass $3 million projects than it is $10 million or 20 million. And they've done their work. The engineering's done. And I think she's going to tell you if this passes and goes right, the shovel's probably in the ground sooner than later. I can't tell you when, but thank you.
Representative Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not being from Campbell County or representing those folks. Has anybody talked with their constituents or heard from them about the increase in property taxes that this poses?
Senator. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, that's a representative, that's a great question. When the voters went to the polls in August of 2021, they knew the potential was there to assess 4 mills up to 5. And so the supporters that we have talked to, that we work with, the donors that we have, know the potential is there for us to go up to 4. Our industry partners, in fact, we've had some of our elected officials say it's time for you to go to 4, just assess the 4 and be done with it, as well as many of our advisory boards and advisory committee members. So those conversations have happened. They continue to happen. We have a conservative board of trustees who want to not overtax our taxpayers. And so they do not want to have to overtax when we're at a place right now before we're accredited to have to assess that for. Chairman, you asked when we would be accredited. We are in line to be an initial accreditation in fall of 2027. We will go to the Institutional Actions Committee hearing in April. There is significant steps, much different than there were when the last college stood themselves up. We have a hearing, it's a 4-hour hearing in front of an Institutional Actions Committee in April. In June, the HLC Board of Trustees will take action. We anticipate being in candidacy, then we'll begin the Department of Education recognition process. And then we will pretty quickly spin and ask for our visit for initial accreditation. Should that timeline play out, we look to be into accreditation, initial accreditation fall of 2027. Shovel ready, we're getting ready to finalize the design details on this building. If we have a spring like we have right now, which I hope we don't, I'd rather have snow on the ground right now, we'll be putting shovels in dirt next year at this time.
Follow up. I listened to the conversation. It's been really interesting and edifying. And you talked about when this building was begun, 2017, 2019. I was not there, but I have been told that basically there was, the state's not going to have to get involved. We'll handle this on our own. And at some point, the WIP program, does it stand for Wyoming Innovative
Wyoming Innovation
Partnership?
Partnership.
Yeah, that got involved with it, and college did receive state aid outside the model. And I guess what I see is, I mentioned 10, 12 years ago, things were kind of haphazard. There was a lot of juggling for who gets what position in who's next to be built and who's next to be funded and all the studies. And we've made quite a bit of strides over the last several years to try to tame that and get that into a system that is fair and equitable for everybody that is there. And I'm a little bit reluctant to want to go revert back for whatever reasons. Obviously, your point was well taken, Senator, that they have done a lot to do it themselves. But now they want to be a part of the system. So my personal issue is I'm not at all convinced that the mill levy is going to pass. We're just saying, oh, sure it will. And I can understand how using this building and the appeal of that could probably help get that passed. But until it passes, we don't know that it's there. And the second side of it is that we have an understanding that state aid doesn't go to a college until it's accredited. And I just feel like we're kind of trying to skirt things and short circuit it, and I'm resistant to that. Senator, you wanted to comment.
Mr. Chairman, only a point of correction or fact is the way the amendment's structured. If they don't go to the fourth mill, it's a moot point. The point you made is if they don't go to it, they don't get the money. It's just that simple. It's not there. If they don't go to the fourth mill, it's tied together. They're tied like this. So if they don't go to the fourth mill, the 16 million does not get released. It's not a if or, it is, they're not going to get that. Second, back to jumping, like I said, this is all general fund dollars that have been appropriated on top of, not out of. And that's usually what we get when we jump a line. Is what we do is we move somebody from number 4 to number 2, but it's within the framework of the money they have. This money is money that is brought from the outside. It actually enhances the entire system, does not jump it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I make one more point of clarification? And I possibly misunderstood you. The voters do not have to vote on that going to the fourth mill. It'll be the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Trustees approve a budget recommended, of course, by myself. And so we will make a budget recommendation that's needed in order to support the NZ build as well as the rest of the operations. And so the trustees then will have to make that decision. But at the end of the day, the trustees are behind the building. They're ready to move this building forward and have.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
thank you. In 2021, the voters already made that choice when they established the conversation of the community college.
So that's the fun thing about this job is you're constantly learning something. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator.
I think we've been in communication with it. We'd like to kind of table for right now until we get our third member with us. So probably meet you later this afternoon or in the morning. We'd notice it, but we've obviously got pretty deep in conversation here. And you seem to think I'm an old timer, but I kind of run with my crew for direction. And so we'd like to come back either later in the day or maybe tomorrow. We'll see what our leadership kind of tells us.
Mr. Chairman.
Comment.
Yeah, I too feel the same way. You guys have made a lot of really good comments, and I think what we need to do right now is go back to our leadership and kind of share what we've learned so far, and then come back and maybe we'll see what we can come up with. And like I said, we understand your feelings towards this, and just want to talk to them about it. Talk to our third member, and I don't know. I'm sure he's off doing some leadership business of some sort, but I'd like to get him involved in this conversation.
Okay. Comments, objections? Seeing no objection, we'll table this. I personally would prefer tomorrow morning sometime.
I think we're happy with that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
ahead.
I'll consult with our leadership. Like I say, leadership on committees are a little different. We'll consult with them and I'll come back just the way I did with you. I'll be the emissary with you. We'll get a
do
time
that.
set, get this hammered out.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, this meeting is adjourned.